So this is the Cubot P20, a very cheap notch phone, and let's get right down to the unboxing. Alright, let's get right down to the unboxing of the Cubot P20, and let's look quickly at the specifications here. We have a 6.2-inch screen, 1080p, a notch, obviously, MTK 6750T, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigabytes of ROM, as well as a 20 megapixel rear and a 2 megapixel rear and a 13 megapixel front camera. And I think this might actually be the same camera as what you find in the Cubot Power, which is actually a good sign. Of course, 4,000 milliamp hours, and we'll see what we got inside. So here we have the actual phone itself. I'm going to take this and put this aside for now and look at what else we have inside the box, which is fairly well laid out. Here we have the charger, as you can indicate by the sign itself. Yep, so we have the charger here. And what do we have inside here? Most likely the cable. Yep, and we have, oh, it's a pretty nice looking, it's a USB, micro USB cable. Don't like that very much, but nothing much we can do about that. And then finally, let's look inside here. Most likely just manuals as well as the pin slot. And it's more than that. Here we have a pin. And here we have a compliance regulation. We also have a quick start guide. And finally, a case. Let's put all this stuff aside and look at the phone itself. Very nice. This is the actual phone itself. And this is a fairly thin phone compared to the Cubot Power, which was a lot thicker. It feels fairly nice in the hand. However, look at the back. It picks up fingerprints. I mean, I just took the protective plastic off, and you can already see fingerprints and dust accumulating on the glossy black finish on the back. And here we have the dual cameras. And as you can see, they are protruding a little bit, which means that you do have to be careful when you put it down, or just use the included case. And of course, we have the fingerprint sensor here. It's a little bit high in my taste. I would rather have it a little bit lower, but that's a minor concern. And of course, here we have the buttons. We have the notch. Well, you can't really see it because it's not on yet, but you know the notch over here. Micro USB cable, and a headphone jack here as well, which is very nice. So let's turn this phone on and see what we got. I gotta say, that looks pretty good. Look at the bezels on this. Well, I won't say super duper good, but it's definitely not bad for a budget device. So there is the notch at the top. It's actually not too big. There is a fair amount of space on both sides for any icons you need and the time. So, you know, if you need any spare icons, they definitely can fit up there. So definitely no problem there. The bottom bezel is another, problem entirely. It's not super small. I was expecting something a little bit smaller. It's not too big. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a big bezel by any means, but it's also not a tiny bezel either. Side bezels are pretty average. They're not too small. They're about average. They're definitely nowhere near as small as the Galaxy S8 though. So there's that to consider. And yeah, so moving on from the actual bezels, we'll talk about the actual software. Let's check the version of the software here. Most likely it's Android 8.0, and let's see. Yep, and we do have Android 8.0 here. And I really like the stock launcher here, right? You have your swipe left for your Google Now, you swipe up for your app drawer, but the only thing missing here is you don't have any swipe down for the notifications, because that would actually be fairly useful. I don't think there's any more settings here, and of course I'm going to turn that off. It actually feels really smooth. I'm very surprised that this is running an MTK 6750T, because it does not feel like it. It feels like, honestly, a Snapdragon 660, which is actually fairly impressive. So I'll continue using this and see how it works. But in the meantime, let's move on to the display itself. To be honest, I'm actually surprised how good the screen is. If you consider the rest of the specifications, it has the MTK 6750T, which is not that great of a processor, especially in mid-2018. However, the Cubot P20 actually has a very decent screen to add to that specifications. It is 1080p, or at least it has a 1080p PPI with a 6-inch display, which is actually pretty good. And the color resolution is actually not bad. Not the color resolution, the color saturation is not bad. It looks pretty good. It's definitely one of the better displays out there. I won't say one of the best, but it's definitely one of the better ones. The display here, is crisp. The colors are good. Stuff generally looks very good. Of course, these are all first impressions, and I will test this out more as I continue looking at the phone and exploring it. But it's nice, and as you can see on the sides, the sides actually disappear when you're looking at it. But then if you want to look at the full, if you want to utilize this, oh yeah, you can actually do that. So I don't think you can actually utilize that if you want to, the sides here, except for like notifications. But we'll have to see how Cubot has implemented their notch strategy to see what they've done. But in the meantime, we'll continue focusing on the quality of the display, and it's pretty good. I'm fairly impressed, especially for a phone of this price. So next, we'll talk about the audio quality in this phone, and I gotta warn you, this is a very, very loud speaker. I'm very, very surprised by how loud it is, and the quality is actually surprisingly not bad, even at maximum volume. So really props to Cubot for making such a decent speaker in this class of phone. So let's listen to this and see what we got.
Can you name any country on this map?
Yes. Africa.
That's a continent.
Oh, country. Greenland or Iceland or something?
That's Alaska. Any country.
No.
And on the entire map.
This is so horrible.
Where's America?
I would say this big one, but I'm probably wrong.
You're definitely wrong.
So that was a very quick overview of the Cubot P20 Pro, and I hope you stick around for the full review and maybe other videos about this device. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Be sure to hit that little notification bell to make sure you're notified of any of the latest videos that come out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.